Yeah. Woo! What's up, guys? Good morning. How you feeling? 9 o'clock Thursday morning. I'm feeling great myself. I'm grateful, blessed, grateful to be here. Been an interesting week already. What I want to talk to you guys about today genuinely is holding truth to our known new frequency, right? Holding true to our new reality, the reality by which we're going to. Because if you pay attention to everything else in the outside world, the reality that you're used to, well, you'll just continue to create that same reality. You'll continue to vibrate at that same frequency, and by which that very means, like, you're going to stay at that energy level. Your reality is going to stay the same. It's going to grow upon those things that you place your energy into, right? But if you face your reality with gratitude and joy and enjoyment for not only your current reality, but also where you're going or where you are mentally, that's how the transition happens. Through quantum physics, through the spiritual nature of our being, right? We are constantly creating. You see, we don't realize it, but we're constantly creating how we go about our day, how we go about any which given thing. Like, most of the time we don't realize that, though, because we're just used to going about it the way that we do. But when we allow ourselves to let go of those old frequencies, when we allow ourselves to really sink into a new mode of being and be that consistently, we're sending the proper signal to the field that then allows the field to mirror it back to us. But what happens? What happens in our journey? What happens on the growth process that makes most people never get there? Well, the field's going to test you. You see, because as we're going on this journey, we're fighting our own past. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that in a forceful way. What I mean is that your past is a part of your subconscious mind and your subconscious programming. Your subconscious takes up about, 90% of your daily thoughts. And we think either the number's either 18,000 or 90,000, one of the two, thoughts daily. And 90% of that is coming from your subconscious mind in most situations, on average. So what that means is that 90% of your daily thoughts, and what happens with your thoughts create what you do, right? 90% of your daily thoughts are less conscious. They're more of subconscious or unconsciously made or thought about. So what does that mean? Well, we all do things every day that we're used to doing, right? The way you pump gas, the way you walk down the road, the way you work out, the way you talk to your wife, the way you go to sleep, the way you wake up. These things become unconscious when we do them so many times. Thus, that's why it becomes hard when we try and change these things. When we try and go to sleep a different way, when we try and wake up a different way, we try and eat differently, we try and work out differently, we try to start working out, we try to start or watch less TV. These things are hard for us to do. Why? Because we are making the unconscious conscious. We are choosing to make what is normally unconscious that we don't have to think about. We're choosing to take that and then make it more conscious, so we're thinking about it, so then we can take different action, so then we can have a different result, right? This is where most of us start when it comes to changing how we do something. We want to start working out, well, okay, or we want to be in great shape, well, we got to start working out. Now on the surface level, yeah, but what we don't realize is that if we only ever change our actions, we're forgetting the bigger picture. The bigger picture is our identity. The bigger picture is who we are and why we choose to work out. If it's just, I want to be in shape, and so you start working out, 9 times out of 10, that person ends up quitting working out and going back to the old habits. But when that person takes the time to change the identity, to change it at the identity level, to take the time to, first of all, understand their past identity, meaning, okay, right now I'm out of shape, I watch too much TV, and I drink too much. That's an identity that I don't want. Why do I not want it? Okay, because I want to be alive for my daughter when she gets married. Why do I not want it? Because I want to be able to enjoy the way I feel. I want to be able to enjoy the money that I make. I want good health. So this is my past identity where I did not prioritize my health. My past identity, myself from the past, is the one that watched too much TV, drank too much, and didn't work out. My new identity, the identity that I'm going to embody right here today and moving forward as best as I can, that's the one that doesn't drink as much, doesn't watch much TV, and works out. Why? Because in my heart's core, I know I want to be there for my daughter. In my heart's core, I know why I'm choosing to make this difference in my life. Is it going to be tough? Sure, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it, right? Understanding that and seeing that for what it is, and understanding the reality that that's your past self, this is my new self. Just that differentiation, that distinction is what makes the difference. Right? Because imagine you broke through this and you realized, like, it wasn't just, okay, I need to start working out. It was, I don't like this identity. Why don't I like this identity? Because it's creating a reality I don't like. It's making me feel terrible. I can't move very fast. My kids wants to play and I can't play with them. I watch too much TV and feel like crap, for lack of better words. I don't like that identity. It's comfortable to some degree, but it's really not. It's not what I want. So I need to mark that as the enemy. There's no other enemy out here other than our past identity. There's no other enemy more than your old self, your past self, the old you that you don't want to be. Right? You versus you, me versus me. It's not about the outside world and the people you can compete with out there. It's about you. It's about competing with yourself, knowing who you want to be. Knowing who you want to be and who you don't want to be, so then you can work towards who you want to be. The biggest battle and your biggest enemy there will ever be is your yesterday's self. Is your yesterday's version of you that you don't want to be anymore. Right? So as you strike upon this journey, this is the distinction that must be made to have everlasting change. The past identity is not me anymore. I am of a new kind. I am of a new self. So back to what I was originally saying, holding true to that. Because it's one thing to make the distinction and start taking action. That's the biggest thing. Most people never do that. But the next hardest part, or the next part that will test you the most, the next part where most people end up sadly failing, is sticking true to that new vibration. It is sticking true to that new reality, that new version of self that might not necessarily look real yet in the external world. But you have to keep it real in the internal world. You have to keep it in real up here in your mind. You have to keep your soul's observation of that reality intact and consistent. Will it be perfect? No. If it's not perfect, does it mean you're failing? No. The dominant vibration is what makes the difference in your reality. So as you're striking anew, as you're working towards that new reality, set yourself up to make it successful, right? Some people are much better at going all in. Some people need to take it slowly. The majority of people need to take it slowly and slowly build on those habits, slowly make that change. Some people, and many times in my life, I've done it to where I go balls to the walls, I go all in, I burn the boats, and I make it to where I can't go back to the old reality. When I started my life insurance business, I had $3,000 to my name and about $3,000 in debt that was coming for me right then and there, all from an apartment complex. And I knew I needed to change. I knew I was comfortable, even though I was pursuing different things. I was on the journey. I knew I was too comfortable, and I needed to change and make new direction. And so I had to risk it on myself. I had to go for it in the way that I could. I had to use every dollar that I had to start the business and burn my boats. I put my 2 weeks notice in and went for it. No sales experience, no life insurance know-how, no work from home experience, no time management relatively, but I went for it. And it changed everything about my life. I burned those boats and shifted my identities. Here I was for years prior, trading. I had the full-time job, 50 hours a week doing countertops, heavy lifting every day. But it was a relatively easy job. I love blue-collar work naturally. Don't like the environment. That's another situation. Raising my daughter and doing trading, short-term trading, spending all my time studying the charts, right, outside of work. Stocks, crypto, Forex, all that. I spent 2 years doing that, but I knew I got to a point where I was like, okay, I haven't been able to quit my job because I'm making enough money from this shit. I need to get uncomfortable. I need to get uncomfortable. Okay, we just moved back into my mom's. I broke this apartment lease, and now they're trying to charge me this much. They also tried to charge me this much because of damages, and all I got is this saved up. Like, all I got is this saved up from 2-3 years of grinding while raising my daughter. But I'm still comfortable. Things haven't worked out. I know something needs to change. I know I'm not developing as fast as I could be. Let me just go for it. Let me step into it. Let me smack the nail, right? Let me just go for it. And that very decision changed everything for me through time. But let me add this. I burnt the boats, but I still had to stay consistent with it. I burnt the boats, but I still had to choose to keep going in day by day by day. I had to choose to continue to show up as that new version of myself, the one that I knew was possible, the one that I knew that I was striking after in the beginning with trading, right? I striked after trading in the beginning to make more money, to have more time freedom. And 2 years in, I hadn't got it yet, but I had to stay consistent. Because ultimately, I could have fallen on my knees and said, man, this sucks. I'm 2 years in and nothing's changed. It's actually only worse in one way or another. Why don't I just go all in on this construction job and try and make another $5 an hour, maybe in the next year or 3 or 4, and maybe I'll make it one day to $30 an hour, right? I could have all in there, and I won't lie, like there were times, because I like doing things I do hard. There were times I was like, man, you know what? I could just practice this more. I could practice this more and make this a real. Thank God I didn't, though, right? Because that wasn't the reality I wanted to be in. I struck anew. I said, this is where I need to go. This is where I need to go. I know my outcome. I know my outcome. I know where I'm heading. I know I have a different reality planned for me. And I know I'm already there in one way or another. Again, this is 3 years ago now. I didn't know anything that I know now about manifestation, quantum physics, these different things that I love learning about nowadays. Right? But I knew my outcome. I knew that if I struck anew and if I continued to strike after it and stay consistent with that reality, I would create it. No matter what nobody said, no matter what my physical reality said, no matter what my money, my bank account said, if I kept this vision alive, I would be getting after it. I would be striking after it one day by day, step by step. The only way the journey is ever made is step by step. I knew that it was possible. I knew that I was headed there. Even though my external reality did not look like that, right? My wife's mad because we just moved back into my mom's house where we have our daughter. Things are kind of iffy between me and her. She's going through postpartum. Things are tough. But I knew my outcome, right? It wasn't just that either. My mom and dad are looking at me like I'm crazy. People I work with or friends are looking at me like I'm crazy because here I am, working an extra 4 or 5 hours every night outside of the 40, 50 hour weeks, countertops, spending money to be in groups, spending money on trades, losing money. But I knew my outcome. I knew that I was going to get there. I knew that the journey was going to get me to exactly to where I needed to be. And that's when I made the change. That's when I made the decision and went all in on life insurance, even more so all in. Right? And I've been self-employed ever since. 3 years ago now. We're actually 3 years in a couple months. 3 years ago in August. And it's still to this day a journey of keeping the vision alive even when it looks crazy. Things look a lot better nowadays. We have the home of our dreams, over 60 acres here in the town I grew up in. I get to go and speak to kids and do what I love to do. Am I still figuring things out? Absolutely. But I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful that I've kept the journey and the vision and the reality and my outcome known in my mind consistently and dominantly enough to go after it and stick with it, to see it out. When I was first starting, those first 2 years in trading, man, I got funny stories. The first apartment that I was telling you guys I broke out of, it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and we had just had our daughter while we were living there, right in the middle of it. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment. Well, my wife set up the other bedroom as her room. Now, my daughter never slept a night in that bed, right? She was a newborn. She slept in the bed with us every night. But anyways, her room was set up like that. So my office was the dining room. So, 1,000, probably 1,200 square feet apartment, right? And the dining room ended up being my office. And what would happen was I would spend all these hours of trading every single night, and I'd be listening. I'd be taking trades, and I'd lose some money, and I'd be hurt. And I'd turn the motivational music on, or not even music, motivational clips on, right? Les Brown, E.T., Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, all of them. Zig Ziglar, and tons more. Ed Milet, tons of them, right? Tony Robbins, all of them. And I still love that stuff. But I'd write these note cards down. That had these different quotes of what they say. And I could show you pictures. I posted the whole wall just full of these quotes, right? I had this whole wall of our dining room in our apartment, right? My wife's decorating everything, making it look all cute. And I got the whole dining room just covered in quotes, different color note cards. I tried to color coordinate. I had pinks and yellows over here and blues over here and whites right here, right? But what that did was that it kept that reality ever present in my mind. It kept these truthful statements that reminded me of this reality that I was going to in my mind. Again, I meditated off and on throughout this time, but I didn't do any visualization at this point. But I knew that I was reprogramming my subconscious. I knew I was working towards this new reality. I didn't know as much about trauma, and I didn't know as much about my trauma, because I hadn't meditated as much yet and learned about that as much. But I knew I was reprogramming. I knew I was going to continue on this path and continue taking steps forward toward this new individual that I was becoming. Right? And so in that, it kept me on the path. It kept my reality real. Nowadays, there's a lot of talk on, affirmations and these kind of things and the tactics, right? And I get why. If you only do the tactics, you'll never fully manifest. But doing the tactics might be the very start that keeps you going. That's what it was for me. I started with affirmations like 5 years ago now. Morning, night. Basically, Think and Grow Rich right here, that's what it tells you, right? Incantations, right? Like absorbing what you need to. Reprogramming your mind. Over time, the tactics do work, but you have to emotionalize them. That's what makes the real difference, is our emotional understanding and our emotional familiarity with that reality, with that different reality that we are striving after. It's the emotional familiarity with the life that we choose to, or that we want to live, that makes it become true. Now, funny enough, you look at modern day society and it all really just confuses your emotional state. It all really just fights for your attention and then sends you down different paths of survival-based understandings and desires and pleasures, right? Funny enough, right? If you fall into that trap, you'll never manifest what you want because you're constantly being pulled in 18 different directions, thus sending mixed signals to the universe and to reflect back to you. And so if you look around and you see a multitude of different confusing situations that make no sense and it seems that there's nothing in alignment, brother, I hate to tell you, but I also don't hate to tell you because maybe you need to hear it. It's because you're not in alignment, and it's because you continue to send out mixed signals to the universe. It's because you continue to focus on a million different things, all of which don't really correlate with one another. And let me tell you, I can tell you this from a lot of experience doing it. Those first couple years I was in this journey, I had different interests that didn't play into it, right? I still smoked weed for some time. I still drank for some time. I still played a little bit of video games in those first few years. I still did, and that's what it looked like for me. I'm not saying those are necessarily the things for you, but my point is that if you have too many interests, you will not make progress in any of them. And sometimes that's something we have to hear consistently because there's so many things to focus on. Even when you get on the side of productivity and enjoying making progress in things that are hard, you still have to learn how to maneuver between what is really worth your time in that season, right? For me, a lot of times this is letting go of simple things. Simple used to be pleasures, right? But now I have to let them go to continue to ascend that on that ladder and continue to be what my soul was called after. To continue to rise through those levels and be all that I can be. Right? So, anyways, guys, take the steps. Jump into that reality. Be who it is that you know you are meant to be. Start on that journey. Start taking the steps. Start getting uncomfortable. Discomfort is the doorway. Something I heard the other week. I think I said that on the last video. Continue to start to know your outcome. Know that you're going to be where you want to be. Know that you're going to have that emotional relationship that is full of love with your family, with your parents, whatever it is for you. Know that you're going to have that dream body. Know that you're going to have the dream career where you're doing this work that you love. You don't have to necessarily know what it's going to be when you're starting, though. Don't let not knowing prevent you from starting. Just start taking steps. Start taking steps. Get to know you so you know what is actually driving you. Question yourself and ask what your thoughts you're having today are based on. Because what will happen is most of the time you realize that they're not necessarily your thoughts. They're not necessarily your feelings. Once you take the time and you dive deep enough, you'll realize that a lot of the things that you consistently think and feel are based on what other people have taught you or conditioned you. This starts in childhood. These different emotions that we get embodied into us, right? Through co-regulation, meaning your parents, most particularly your mother, the way they feel a lot of times downloads into you because that's who you co-regulate with, right? It could be just stressful situations in general. Oftentimes that's a large one. The stress that we endure as children then becomes embodied into our subconscious, and we have to choose to work through it and get to know it to be a productive human being in the future. All right? We have to get to know those traumas. We have to get to know what we went through. We have to integrate that story into who we are so then we can be a force for good. Then we can be someone who embodies that pain, embodies that power, and actually shows up as what God intended you to be. God didn't give you that trauma for you to feel bad about yourself, brother. I promise you. The devil wants you to think that, though. The devil will tell you that shit is meant to hurt and that you will not feel better because of it. But brother, when you listen to God and you listen to things with the almighty might that says, brother, you can be different, you can be great, you're meant to be great, you're put on this earth for greatness. When you listen to that and you know it and you take it all the way with you, there's nothing that will stop you in this world. There's not a single thing that will stop you other than what you allow into your mind, which is always the devil, if it's going to pull you back. But just because you let the devil in one time doesn't mean that you're at a loss, my friend. Because we all do. It's a constant battle. You see, devil versus God isn't some esoteric, overarching, entire dissemination into who you are. No, good versus evil. That's all it is. God always wants you to be your best self, and you should get into the mindset of always striving to be that. The devil just wants to pull you back and keep you tamed in a certain reality that feels comfortable. Right? Sometimes the devil's always at work, right? The devil's always at work, so sometimes it's easy to fall in those traps. I say sometimes, it's always easy to fall into those traps, so we always do at times. And this journey of personal transcendence, this journey of lifetime giving to God and graciousness and the gratitude of the world, this is the journey of learning how to balance your inner forces and give more of it to God. Give more of it to your everlasting soul that wants to transcend what you came to transcend in this lifetime. But my friend, the devil will always try and pull you back. And because he wins once or twice doesn't mean that he will win in general. In fact, that is the very essence of the devil. He wants to hold you there. He wants to hold you in that pleasurable purgatory, that penance, that section where you can't get out of it. Those negative feelings that hold you so tightly and they hold you down So when then you go find something to release it, you allow the external world to make you comfortable and find a way out of these realities. No, my friend. No. You're not meant to stay there. You're not meant to be that. That is the devil. That is your animalistic mind trying to win when you are something much greater. You are something much greater. You are one with God. You have an essence of goodness and greatness inside of you, which means you can always move forward. You can always transcend. You can always find love for yourself, for your family, for your people, for the world, for life itself, gratitude. And you can always find a new. You can always move to that new self. Day by day, you can always take those steps, even when the devil calls you back as hard as he can. My friend, you must accept that reality. You must accept it and go for it and be it. Day by day, you must know that outcome. You must continue to see it, even when your entire world says it's not real. And my friend, what you will find is that is where the beauty is found. That is where that is where God's grace is given to you. That is where you will find who it is you're meant to be. That is where your love for the world and your people truly becomes everything that you are. But in those moments, we still must be wary because once again, your biggest enemy is your yesterday's self, your yesterday's common misunderstanding of greatness. Your yesterday's comfortability that wants to pull you back, my friend. Step into it. Step into God's grace. Step into the gratitude of the world and move with it. Move with it like you have nothing else you could do with your life. And watch how life opens up for you. If you like this, my friends, drop a like below, drop a comment, share it with somebody who needs it. Fuck everything else. If you think somebody needs this, share it with them. Share it with them today and let them hear the same message. If you have a question about something, let me know below. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Have an amazing day, my friend. You deserve it.